All right, getting started, everybody, here real shortly. Yeah, look at the snow. It's coming. All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. Meteorologist Hutch Johnson joining you as this storm system taking shape. No travel advisories, as you saw posted earlier. Here is a complete update right now on this snow, where it's going. We'll have the forecast coming up as well, and a look at road conditions across the area, something you'll need to know before we head into the nighttime hours when the brunt of the storms, winds, and snow makes its way east into the valley. Your forecast begins right now. Say, my friends at Robert Gibb & Sons, they can help you whether it's at the home or the office with heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical work. Give Robert Gibb & Sons a call today. They are a premier Bryant dealer and have been helping the community with these things since, well, for over 100 years. All right, let's get right to it. Here's a look at that radar, but this really not the picture of the day. This doesn't look that impressive, but when we start to see the impacts, we're seeing some snow. I've got a report from you of flakes flying in the Valley City area right now, and the radar would indicate that's moving into the southern reaches of both Barnes and Stutzman County. The main event going on out to the west where it's already delivered snow. Now it's lightening up, but that's where the impacts are the greatest, and the wind is just getting ready to start ripping as we go through. As is always the case on Hutch's Weather, please drop a comment here. Let me know where you're watching from. If you have a report of weather, you can pass it along to the whole team here, and we'll all take a look at it. Thanks so very much. All right. Yeah, I know we don't want it, says Kasha, but it is on its way. Brenda, hi. Good to have you on board. And again, we'll be updating all of this. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on right now across the region. Now, we're going to start on the western side of the state. This is Highway 2 as you go outside of the Devil's Lake Basin heading towards Minot. This is Leeds, and it's just starting to accumulate on the grassy areas there. Not too much of an impact yet in travel. Roads are wet, but they're not super icy yet, but they will begin to deteriorate fairly quickly. So Leeds, North Dakota, Highway 2. Now let's take a look at this as a look here at Rugby as you continue on. A little bit more snow on the ground there as you're heading toward the Minot area, and then boom, checking into the area in and around Minot. Here you go. The roads are icy and ice covered. There is snow on the side of the road. It doesn't look like a terrible amount, but this is our first in many areas taste of wintry weather for Northwest North Dakota. Not the case. And speaking of that, as you go to the west of Minot, there is a no travel advisory out in this section of the state. This is Ray, North Dakota. You can see here on Highway 2 that the road is completely covered with, well, at least trails of slush and ice from the snow that's making its way through that particular area. Here is the North Dakota DOT. If you have a question on any particular area, please let me know. Joanne from Bemidji. We'll talk about when it's coming your way. First and foremost, let's get this out right away. The Department of Transportation has issued a no travel advisory for the northwest quadrant of the state. So if you are traveling along Highway 2 west toward the oil patch, once you get outside of Minot, which is here, the red area and the red roads are where there is no travel advised. Now, there are not closed roads at this time, but there's no travel advisories in place in these locations. The snow stretches down through the Watford City area. We'll give you a look at that in the oil patch. You can see here, difficult travel at best with the slushy and heavy wet snow continuing to fall in that area. You go south a little bit toward the I-94 corridor. Here's Medora, as we looked at earlier today, and you can see the snow is accumulating on the interstate now, so there will be icy travel for some. Now, where we see the purple counties, these are areas where the North Dakota Department of Transportation says there is a travel alert, where some wintry conditions are beginning to impact travel. Remember, winter storm warnings are in place as well across the area, and we'll get to that. But as we take a look across the region, we do have some snowy roads in yellow here on the road reports reported in that Bismarck zone. So as we take a look at Bismarck and point south into Grant and Sioux County, roads are covered with some ice. Things are really cooling down right now as that ice makes its way through. So that is a look there. And if we don't have any questions, if you do have a question, I do have access made for you on on hutchesweather.com. Something new that my web developer Joe and myself worked on was to make one-stop shopping for you. Check this out. Go to hutchesweather.com, and at the top of the page, when you do, you're going to see this big old snowflake up there. Now, there's the no travel advisory. It's posted right up top. But not only that, you can find your road reports right here. Oh, and by the way, I'm live right now, and it's telling you. So if you click the live button there, you're going to get to see exactly what you're watching here. hutchesweather.com keeps you ahead of the game. Here's a look at the radar. Now, here in Minnesota, we are quiet now with all of that rain that delivered 1 to 2 inches of rain across the area overnight. Continues to push up in towards Dryden and Winnipeg right now. That's right, raining in Winnipeg, raining near Brandon, even though they had some snow earlier. Now, as you go down to the page here, if you do click on this travel advisory button, there's a little button right here. You click on that and it takes you to Hutch's weather page. On here, you've got my snow forecast. Let's review that real quick on hutchesweather.com. 4 to 9 inches of snow with isolated areas picking up closer to 10 inches or even more in a few spots. Botno does look to be to me to be the big winner where heavy bands of snow will focus over the 24-hour period. Overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow, at least through midday, it looks like snow potential will continue. 1 to 4 inches for the Fargo area, a little bit more in the Sisseton Hills, a little bit more closer to the 4 inches likely in parts of west central Minnesota as we go up the hill out towards Holly and such. Now, as you go up north in and around that Grand Forks zone, how about 4 to 6 inches of snow potential there? So that's a look, but there's a thing on the website I want you to keep note of. North Dakota's road condition map, Minnesota's road condition map, South Dakota's road condition map. If you're traveling across the region, this page is for you. Now, we won't forget about our neighbors because we have a lot of folks watching on hutchesweather.com on the YouTube channel as well, and we'll keep you up to date with the very latest of what's going on. Speaking of which, hi, Kylie and Roseau. Gwen joining from New Rockford, where flakes are likely close to flying. Cindy's still in Plummer, and it's still raining there. Thank you for the update. Cheryl says, hi, watching from Nadawash out there in Minnesota. And again, wet weather, not white weather yet. There's a chance, but I think the loftier snow totals will be to your west, as we just reviewed. Serenity said, let's get 4 inches in Fargo. You're voting for the high end. Okay, so if you're in Manitoba, let's check this out together. Let's go to the Manitoba 511 report here, and this is a look at the road conditions as this system is wet right now in Winnipeg, but white out towards Brandon earlier, and it does look like the yellow on the roads, showing areas here where we do have some snow-covered, at least partially covered roads across portions of Manitoba. So again, you can find the latest in your road reports on hutchesweather.com right here on Hutch's winter page. How did you get to it? Well, again, it's from my main page, and you're going to see this headline right at the top here in orange. No travel advised. You can get the latest on that by going to the North Dakota road conditions map right down here. You click on it, you're going to get the latest. And you know what? This works from your phone and mobile devices as well. Drop a comment. Let me know if you've used the Hutch's website on your phone. It's a great tool to keep you ahead of the weather game, no matter where you are. Now, there's also links on Hutch's Weather down at the bottom here for some local National Weather Service pages where you can see the details from the outstanding and hardworking folks at the National Weather Services in our region. Let me know if you'd like to see some other sort of link posted here for the winter weather page. But again, this is on hutchesweather.com. Let's talk a little bit now about what we're expecting with this storm system. Here's another look at the latest radar. We're going to go over the radar and the temperatures now and the visibilities as well. We just showed you the road conditions, so here we go. Snow focused in the central part of the state. Let's take a look at our big time change. What has changed out there? A lot has changed. Temperatures steady here in the valley. Here are those temperatures now across our region. Now, as we take a look at the blues, we're holding on. Steady temperatures all day, have been wavering about 2 degrees, and that's it in the Fargo area. As we talked about, they'd be falling, though, in the last half of the day. And here it comes with northwest winds pushing cold air out of parts of Saskatchewan into parts of northwest North Dakota. Only in the 20s, barely out there in Plentywood, and it looks like temperatures are soon to be in the teens for you. Cindy, thank you for joining. The Ogama area is getting some windy conditions. Now, on this side of the system, we have more of a southeast flow, keeping things a lot warmer. 48 in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Things are dry, as you saw on the radar across portions of Minnesota right now. Getting in just a little closer so we can get your community Hey, Bemidji. Hi, everybody. 37 degrees there. How about Thief River Falls? You got 37. It's 43 in the Waskish area right now. And speaking of Mahnomen, let's get down toward Netawash and Mahnomen and see what we got there. Oh, I'm not getting a report just yet in from that particular area, but we do see that we have the Foston area at 36 degrees right now. Lakes Country, Detroit Lakes 39. Park Rapids, we got 39 degrees as well. Wadena, a little warmer at 41. This cold air is scooping south of Interstate 94. Remember, we did get some reports of flakes in Valley City. You are at 32 degrees. So temperatures are sliding away, folks, and they're on their way to some mighty low levels as we go into the next 36 to 48 hours. So that's temperatures. Here's visibilities right now, and that's pretty restricted in some areas. Now, the colors here show us where we have areas of reduced visibility. And some areas up here where we have the wind and flakes flying, we're less than a mile. We define snow, the heavy snow versus light snow versus moderate snow based on how far we can see. If it's under a mile, that's heavy snow, and the winds are impacting the area as well. So thanks again for your reports. Things are not too bad. Still in the valley here, we're enjoying about 4 to 5 to 10 miles of visibility. But once you get out towards Jamestown and points west of there into, say, Kidder County, I'm not kidding. It's hard to see out there. Janet says, hi, thanks. Think things will be closing highways near Minnesota, Manitoba, heavy wet snow. It's rare in Minnesota to see them close interstate highways. So I would say Minnesota, the chances of this system closing roads will be low. But will there be impacts? Yes. North Dakota practices overnight safety. We don't want people on the roads trapped. And so a lot of times when the DOT pulls plows and then comes back in the morning to try to attack things as we get closer to daybreak so that you can get to work, well, I'll tell you what, it's probably a better chance at seeing some roads either closed or whatnot in the northern part of the state where the winter storm warning is in effect. So keep that in mind. And I will be your source for that information as well. So during the event here, keep fluid travel plans. If you are traveling, this system will be at its worst here in the valley overnight and into the early half of the day tomorrow. Let's go to the forecast. Let's go there. All right, let me see if I've got any other questions popping up here on Hutch's Facebook. Peggy, thank you for watching, as always. Sarah's ready for some snow, saying I'm ready. Nathan's watching from Fargo Moorhead here. Thank you so very much. And okay, let me make sure I don't have any other questions before I move on to the forecast. And we're going to talk a little bit about snowfall forecasts. National Weather Service has 4 to 7 for Fargo. What? A little more? Okay. So we're looking at this. National Weather Service says 3 to 6 for the Forks and 4 to 7 for Fargo. Remember that band in the southern batch? I went over this in a live that I did at the kitchen table a little bit ago, and several models were showing that 4 to 7 inch category for Fargo. I have 1 to 4 for Fargo. I'm not changing it too much yet, but how about we look at it together and you get to help me determine what we should do, because there's a lot of things that can still happen between now and all day tomorrow. The snow will last for the first half of the day at least. Let's see what the latest model says, shall we? All right. You guys are the greatest. This is fun. Donna, thank you very much. Traveling Valley City to Rushville, Nebraska tomorrow. What can you expect? The farther south you get, the faster, the better off you're going to be. But there'll be rough and tumble travel conditions on the way on I-29 going south. Now, if you're going to take a sneaky route south through Aberdeen or something like that, those roads, because of a northwest and west wind, are going to have some drifting on north-south roads. So the interstate may be a better bet for travel. Once you get south of Watertown, I think the road conditions will improve. The snow chances aren't as great there. Let's get right to your forecast. So hope that answered your question. Here's a look at a forecast model. We'll look at this together. I did and have been watching these throughout the day, but this will be a new run over the ones I've seen before. Mike, thank you. I can no longer find the stars link. Mike, you're not alone. I will tell you later in the broadcast where you can find stars, but if you look for Hutch's Reels right now or video posts that don't say Hutch was live, on the comment bar, you should still see stars on those particular posts. I do not know why Facebook is not getting the star option available on my live videos like this. But that's the last thing I'm worried about. I appreciate all of you wanting to support me. Just keep coming back. I'll get that figured out. Ashby, how about Ashby, Minnesota? Chances of snow in Minnesota will be later into the overnight hours. Bartles sending Starslink either. Okay, thank you very much for that. How positive are you on Fargo's snow total? Greg, let's go over that together. We may end up being on the higher end of Hutch's 1 to 4. I still feel pretty good about that, but I do think there will be enhanced snowfall totals. I've talked about this the last couple of days. As you go just off to the east of Fargo and you start getting out of the Lake Agassiz Bowl and you start heading up towards Holly, I think we could see some very wide-ranging snowfall totals here. And I think I've said that the last couple of days. We'll take a look at it together now. Raining in Roseau, a good inch here. Good for you guys. We've sure needed that. And the squirrels are just really getting those nuts gathered. I got to tell you, they're smart squirrels. Let's take a look at your forecast. Now, I'm going to go out to the latest model run here that gets us out a little farther. Take a look at this as this snow wraps around the backside. Do you see the kinks in the isobars? As meteorologists, we're trained to look for these kinds of features within our isobaric pattern, we call that, okay? Those little kinks and isobars, that's like called a trough axis. So we got a little trough axis here, and on the upwind side of that up here, we're gonna have snow. Notice how it sharply cuts off on the downwind side of that trough axis. Where this sets up, if it really gets more of a kink to it, that can enhance the snowfall totals in and around that trough axis. See it taking more shape here, and look at the snow starting to blossom around Fargo on this model. This is one model. Okay, so let's take a look at this progression. The time on this is about midnight, and here's midnight. So snow as we go through 10 to midnight will be strong. The wind will be strong. We'll have periods, not all night, but periods of moderate to maybe even heavy snow here in the Southern Valley. So we see one distinct band here, and then this ongoing band up in the Bottineau Hills. Now, snow continues light to moderate as we go towards daybreak, which is 7 a.m. right here. Heavy bands of snow at times near the international border. Things look like they're lightening up just a bit here as we go through the midday hour. Watch what happens. Look at these winds, by the way. I'm thinking and said yesterday, 50-mile-per-hour winds will not be out of the question with this system. Does that mean blizzard? Well, if this happens the way this model shows, there could be whiteout conditions for sure briefly, but a blizzard is carefully defined as 3 hours in a row of winds over 35 miles per hour with heavy snow. So this model would indicate we could have heavy snow for 1, 2, 3, 4 hours as we go through the morning hours tomorrow. That could be pretty tough. But then the moisture in this system starts drying up as we go towards lunchtime. This is 1 in the afternoon on your lunch hour, wind and snow. Wind decreasing in portions of the valley where you see the isobars getting farther apart, still ripping across parts of the central plains of North Dakota, and then the system exits out. What does this mean for snowfall totals? Let's look together. Is everybody still with me? Do you have a question? Erskine. I'll get to Erskine and the snowfall map here, Tammy, very, very quickly. Thank you for asking your questions, by the way. I appreciate each and every one of you. Gwen, joining on the YouTube channel, also is wondering about New Rockford, how much for the area. You're gonna want to watch here. Let's get to the snowfall totals. Here's a thing that makes some snowfall forecasting a challenge. And remember, last night I said the Red River Valley from Grand Forks to Fargo was a little less certain last night on the snowfall totals. Why? And I even said, might need to adjust these because temperatures. Once we get into the temperature regime around the low 20s, the snow will not be the heavy wet variety in many places. It will likely be more fluffy. And because of that, we could see the snow to water ratio increase. So what that would mean for every inch of liquid equivalent water, instead of getting 4 or 5 inches of heavy wet compacting snow, we might get more of that fluffy snow that piles up. And the ratio on average is closer to 10 inches to a foot of snow per 1 inch of liquid moisture. And that's how we forecast. How much moisture is in the air? How much water does that mean? How many inches of snowflakes can that make? And that's the science of meteorology. What you're looking at now is a look at total snowfall. And I'm going to use a ratio here that takes into account the temperature changes, and look at the snowfall potential with this system as we go into the morning on Thursday. So this has some snow continuing. Look at where it's heaviest. Okay, so where I was saying there on the edge of the bowl, if you will, of where Lake Agassiz sits, you get out into the eastern reaches of Clay County and central parts of Polk County here on the edge of Lake Agassiz, and that's where we'll see a rapid increase. So this model says 6.4 inches for Fargo. Now we're going to turn the page, and let me tell you, when you turn the page, we're going to look at another model. Whoop, this model, North American model, run at the same time. It is a high resolution model. It's picking up on things that we've seen the last couple of days, a band here in the valley, and one that I've told you that I think could be 1 to 4 inches of snow for Fargo, and this one sticks to it. 1 to 4 inches of Fargo, but heavier out to the east. I'm feeling pretty good about my forecast. Let's do another model for giggles and fun, because that's what we do here, giggles and fun, and let's see what it means for us. Here's another one that has 7 in Fargo. It's up the ante just a little bit. This is Fargo, Moorhead, Harwood, on into the Norman County area. So if you're on the Ada side of the county there in Norman County, a better chance of some loftier snowfall totals. Look at the Sisseton Hills. What does that little purple blotch mean there? That's 14 inches of snow enhanced by the elevated terrain of the Sisseton Hills. That is indeed a possibility. You get up in that Bottineau area here, and this is now calling for 20 inches of snow on this model. This is one model, and it's guidance. It's not my forecast yet. So what we're looking at here is westernmost Minnesota getting the brunt of the snow. And again, it looks like lower snowfall totals up in the Grand Forks area and higher down here in the Southern Valley. So that is a little bit of a change from yesterday. Now we're taking a look at another model because we can. This is the Canadian model. I really like the way this model has handled this storm system. It has a solid 3 to 5 inches, 2 to 5 inches of snow right here in the valley with an enhancement out to the east. And it does look like we have the Bottineau Hills thing. Many models are in agreement here that here's how we want to take this. We see oftentimes one side of Fargo getting an inch of snow, the other side of Fargo getting 5 inches of snow. I think this might very well be one of those kind of situations. I think in town, in Fargo, we may get lower snowfall totals, probably closer to the 2 to 4 inch. 2 to 4 inch. But you get outside of Fargo, maybe just to the east a little bit, south near Sabin, we start getting some terrain effects and other things and some enhancement to the snow based on where things are setting up. Most models are seeing higher snowfall totals, and I do think the best chance of that, as I've said the last couple of days, likely just east as we get to the edge of Lake Agassiz, the enhanced terrain features in around the Bottineau Hills. This model's also saying 2 feet of snow. So here's how Hutch wants you to interpret this, and I'll make a graphic for this to highlight this as we go a little bit farther. I think that it is a good bet to see 2 to 4 inches of snow throughout the Red River Valley. There's going to be a rapid increase in snow as we get into parts of the edge of Lake Agassiz here, all the way up, and we will see some folks getting upwards of that 2 to 7 inch category, closer to the 7 inch category for a few. These are usually very narrow bands of enhanced snow, not widespread. So thinking that everybody's going to get that 7 would be a mistake, and it'd be bad for me to communicate it that way. In and around the Sisseton Hills, where is the snow going to be the heaviest? The wind is coming from the northwest. It will be on the upslope side of the hill where the wind is blowing up the slope. That tends to gather the snowflakes. Then on the downwind side, the snow tends to dissipate just a little bit. So I think on the west side of the Sisseton Hills, we'll see that enhancement. Same thing for you in and around the Bottineau area, where we're going to have a northwest flow causing the western and northern facing areas of those hills getting enhanced snow. Now, here's a neat feature. When Lake Sakakawea is wide open and there's not ice on it like right now, a wind from the northwest is traveling across a huge part of the water, and it adds moisture to the air, a lot of moisture to the air, because the water's hotter than that cold 20-degree air. We're going to see some bands just downwind on the east side of Lake Sakakawea, including you folks maybe in Center, Oliver, if you're out there in the Washburn area, Cole Harbor. These places may see enhancements, not everywhere, but in a few narrow bands. That's how these tend to set up. So it's called a lake effect. We typically see it on the Great Lakes, but it can actually happen downwind of Devil's Lake, and it can happen downwind of big lakes in our area, including Lake of the Woods. But not in the cards for you this time. Not cold enough yet. But as you're looking across the area, if there are big lakes, and I don't see too many, Mille Lacs is one that can cause this. Rainy Lake can cause this. We can see when the waters are open there on Lake of the Woods, it could cause lake effect snows. I think downwind from Lake Sakakawea, lake effect snow. That's Hutch's hunch. You don't hear that on everybody's broadcast, but that's something, and it's something you're not really even seeing in the model forecast right there. Well, why don't we look at one more model forecast, and then we're going to close out with a look at the European model, because I still like that European model. Again, very similar. Here's 4 inches or so for Fargo, 2 to 4 inches in and around the Grand Forks area, and enhanced snowfall amounts to the east. That's my forecast. I'm sticking to it. It hasn't changed too much. I might up Fargo's total, but not by too much. Instead of the 1 to 4, maybe we'll say 2 to 4 seems to be a little bit better, with rapidly increasing amounts in and around the area. Did that answer your question? I hope it does. Tiffany says there's snapping branches and sticks everywhere. That's in Comstock, I'm assuming. Thank you so much for watching, Tiffany. You're the best. When it's safe to do so, if you have pictures and reports, please upload them to hutchesweather.com. Laura says, do I expect an icy commute in the morning? It's going to be very icy. So let's take a look now. We've looked at the modeled forecast for snowfall. Let's take a look at the wind and temperatures here on the forecast model. And I will point out that when I put these temperatures on, it's kind of cool. You can see the colors. And on these high resolution models, like the one I'm going to show you now, these are very, very good at picking out. Let me get up to this model run here. Okay, so they're very good at picking out fine detail in different terrain features in the land, and you'll actually get to see that. So here comes this cold northwest wind right out of Plentywood, Wolf Point, Montana, Freud, Montana, if you know where that is, right into Culbertson and on into the oil patch. There's Lake Sakakawea. Cold air flowing over this big lake from the northwest fetches, we call it, more water content as it's blowing over that open water, and downwind from it in McLean County especially, we could see some narrow banding of heavy snow. We could also see that down here on the south side. You see, this is the Hayes-and-Beulah Bay area. There may be a few places that get some redonky-donk amounts of snow in those particular areas. So that's one thing about our temperatures as we go through the overnight hours. Now, here you're heading towards daybreak, and temperatures will be in the 20s. So wet roads and slushy roads become crusted with a more solid ice. Will there be glare ice, and will there be freezing rain? There may be an area in here in Minnesota that gets a little freezing rain, because we're still getting some warm air aloft where we might have raindrops falling down on frozen surfaces. We won't have raindrops falling on frozen surfaces here. I think we're going to have snowflakes falling. So that's why I'm thinking there's been an enhancement of these snowfall totals by the models, drawing this colder surface area in just a little bit quicker. Now, as we go through your Tuesday here, as we go through your Wednesday here, the cold air just continues. So a persistent day in the 20s with gusty winds over 40 miles per hour at times, and in places, not everywhere and not all the time. I've told you, where we get the heavy snow, we're going to start seeing some single-digit readings and readings near zero. And it starts Friday, but it'll be too windy for it to be too cold. When it clears out and when the winds calm down is when those temperatures will really have a chance to really bottom out. And that's something Hutch's hunch was giving you way ahead of the game from some of the other places you may hear weather reports. So for our area, having a little experience with this, I think that's what we're looking at. Windy and cold. And then after we get a little later into the week, we could see some mighty cold temperatures. Let's see if this model is on it yet. I'm going to look at one more model that goes out just a little bit farther and see if it's got some of those cold temperatures hitting the single digits here. As we go into the morning on Thursday, I'm seeing some close to single-digit readings up in parts of Saskatchewan. I do think the oil patch and places up there near the Botno Hills will have several places up here that get down into the single digits or near the single digits. And maybe the best chance will be as we go through our Friday and into Saturday morning when the winds really calm down. So that's an answer to your question. Winds are gusting to 41 miles per hour there. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these wind gusts on on the latest on the weather map here. So let's go ahead and do that. Thanks for your report. I appreciate it, Tiffany. Here's a look at gusts across the area. The data's just kind of loading in here. So as we zoom in, we can see a 47 mile per hour gust in Dickinson and Bismarck. Now look at this, where the snow is flying, it's a 32 mile per hour gust in the Minot area. There's snow flying in and around Dickinson as well, 47 mile per hour winds, folks. That's ridiculous. And look at in the Black Hills, we get out towards Belle Fourche out here, Buffalo, South Dakota, these areas, 58 mile per hour wind gusts out there. That's not a hold your hat day. That's a put rocks in your pockets so you don't blow away kind of day. Then as we look out into Minnesota, having even a few trees out there makes a big difference. So I'm going to put in a comment here. Thanks for your reports, and questions are welcome. Thanks for putting up with me communicating back and forth with viewers on different platforms. So thanks for all of you for watching on the various platforms. That is an update. Here is the latest on the forecast. So I will put my forecast map up here again for snowfall. You can find this on hutchesweather.com, but I'm going to go over this. And I will remake this. This model that you're seeing on the background here was last night's model and earlier today's model. And it really is showing not much change to this except a little bit more in the snow here. And by a little bit, I mean maybe 2 to 4 inches more in a few places. So it's not a huge change. Maybe a little less snow in portions of north central North Dakota is being called on by these models as well. Here was my forecast yesterday, 2 to 6 for Grand Forks. We're going to be in that range. I think that's solid. We may just put the same darn thing here in the Southern Valley, 2 to 6, with a few areas getting a plus sign, just a few with that 7-inch total category. Factoring in some gusts and some drifts. Drifts are just going to be terrible in some spots because of the wind that we're going to experience. And 4 to 9 plus up in the Devil's Lake Basin seems to be legit, with a couple of places in and around the Botno Hills getting over a foot of snow. Do I want to go to the 27 inches this model had? I think that might be a little bit on the robust, blustery side, but you might want to get the old snowblower tuned up out there. And thank you very much for all of your comments and questions here. Let's see if there's any more. What's the weather looking like Wednesday night in West Fargo? Okay, so in West Fargo on Wednesday night, the snow will be wrapping up. It's going to be very icy roads between, say, Comstock, Tiffany, and the Fargo area. It's going to be windy, and there's going to be some areas with some slippery conditions out there. The wind will still be quite breezy on Wednesday. The snowfall will be ending by the time we get to Wednesday evening. So the greatest impacts in our area will be overnight tonight and throughout the midday tomorrow. In the afternoon and evening hours, the wind should be gradually decreasing. The snowfall should also be gradually decreasing. All right, that is one full, complete look at the weather. I will be posting videos throughout the night with radar updates. Let me see if there's any updates from the DOT here in North Dakota, because we did just have a no travel advisory. We'll be watching this close. No travel advisory in red in the northwestern district of North Dakota. Central parts of North Dakota, north of Bismarck, Mandan, in purple there, it's a travel advisory, meaning it's pretty slippery there. I expect to see things really deteriorate here in the Red River Valley as we head into the nighttime hours tonight, post-sunset, which is fixing to happen anytime now. So that's your forecast update. Thank you very, very much for all that you do here for me by providing updates. If you have snowfall reports as they're coming down and wrapping up, please let me know. If you have pictures of drifts and the like, all of us enjoy seeing your input right here on Hutch's Weather with my photo uploads page on hutchesweather.com. You can go to hutchesweather.com, scroll down till you see the photo uploads, and this is the page it takes you to. And by the way, you can see some pictures that have been posted recently. So again, as this event unfolds, please take the moment and upload your videos and your images right here to help everybody along in this event. Northern Grace, thank you very much for watching. Appreciate all of you. Thanks, Brenda. Have a wonderful evening. I'll be back, of course, throughout the event. But again, looks like a long day across the valley overnight tonight and into tomorrow. I'll have details right here on Hutch's Weather. Thanks for joining me.